today we're going to fit a 270 degrees Bushwakka awning onto the 200 series Land Cruiser. Now I chose the Bushwakka for one reason, because it's cheap. It's $900 and I think it was about $150 delivery to WA from Queensland, which is exceptional. The guy at Bushwakka threw in 2 extra poles and 3 extra tie down clips for it, so pretty happy so far with the deal. As far as I could see, it was one of the cheapest freestanding 270 degrees awnings. Supposedly this thing can stand up to a reasonable amount of wind, so 20 k's an hour or so, without poles and ropes. I don't know if I'll be that confident with it. We'll see in time how good it actually is. But let's get around to putting it on the 200 series. Okay, this is what comes from Bushwakka. Get a couple of tie downs here. Get a couple of open-ended spanners with 13 and 10mm, which is actually kind of nice of them. Got a couple of pegs that, well, I don't even know if I'd call these pegs, but I don't think they're going to hold this big awning in a strong breeze. Bushwakka were nice enough to throw in a couple of anti-flap type fixings with tie downs on the end, because I said I was going to be using it on the beach a fair bit and I wanted to be able to tie it down on a few extra points. They also gave me 2 extra poles, which I'll show you shortly, and then a whole bunch of nuts and bolts. Now these bolts here would be long enough for the Rhino Pioneer rack that I've got. These ones here are obviously designed for something else. Now you would ordinarily not have enough bolts because there's 4 of these short ones already in the back of the awning. The thing is, you only need to use 4 bolts, so you're going to use either the short ones or the long ones, so the additional 4 nuts you would take off and use on the awning. Of course that's not going to be good enough for me, because these are going to be almost impossible to try and mount into the awning's rails, so I've gone and bought a set of the Rhino T-nuts. You can see that these T-nuts fit the bolts that come with the awning perfectly. They're just M8s, I think, and we're going to use those to attach the awning brackets to the roof rack. These are the awning brackets that come with it. They're quite strong. I'm not sure how the mounting on this end is going to go, because it's not long enough to go from one track to the next, so I'm only going to be mounting them on with 1 bolt. And I'm going to have to make up some sort of extension, I think, with some flat bar to get to the second rail on the awning. To mount these brackets, I'm going to use some T-nuts and slide them into the rails of the Pioneer rack. I'm also going to put some Loctite on these, because you should have Loctite on pretty much everything that you attach to your 4-wheel drive. So we slide the T-nuts into the roof rails on the roof rack and then simply line them up and put the bolt through. We'll make sure you tighten these up, but because we've got Loctite on there, we don't need to go crazy and damage the roof rack. Now we've just got to lift the awning up, line it up and bolt it on. You want to make sure you've got somebody to give you a hand doing this. It weighs between 20 to 30 kilos. If you drop it, it's going to damage the awning, the car, or both. Once you get the bolts through the bracket, you want to make sure that you at least put 1 nut on one end, and that'll allow it to be secure while you try and work out the other end. Now that the awning's reasonably secure, we can go ahead and put the rest of the nuts on each end. This allows you to do some final adjustments to get the position just right. There's an issue. Well, even though the poles appear to be a little bit short on the 200 series, and I don't even actually have a lift on this, so that's a bit of a worry if you've got a lift, but I suppose when it's all loaded up and when we get the drawers in the back, it probably will sit a little bit lower. But I actually got some extra poles thrown in with the deal, which is really cool, but they weren't mounted to it, which is fine. But they didn't come with any bolts either. Thankfully I had a couple of stainless steel bolts around, so I'm just going to try and fit these up now and see how we go. Well, there you go, it's all up and running. Does move around a fair bit. The whole thing flexes on those brackets without the poles and the ropes down. It is quite windy today. I was expecting a little bit of that. Whether it's a problem or not is yet to be seen, I guess. The tie downs here on the edges are really good for draining water off if it's raining. The poles are just way too short. I mean, this is a standard height Land Cruiser 200 series with a rhino rack on there, and there's just not enough height in them at all. You can see that I've got them jacked up with bits of wood here in the driveway just to get it to get any kind of bite into it at all. But the material seems okay. It's not sensational. I'd say probably about the same as the canvas you get on an ARB touring awning. The poles, having the 3 poles is really good, gives me a lot of peace of mind, and the fact that they all velcro up inside, everything should be able to stay on it when it's packed up. The space under here is really good. So far so good. We'll see how we go when we take it camping, I guess.